Shalom everyone, and this time we are learning Parashat Ki-Tavo in the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 26, verse 1. It is a very, very tough parasha to get. Most people do have hardship to read it. Why? Because it represents life directly. And I'll explain. You don't even have a commentary in the Zohar, only in Zohar Chadash, which is a later publication of other amendments to the Zohar, the original manuscript. And it is very subtle to understand. However, basically our quality of life depends on how much can we understand the message of this parasha, Parashat Ki-Tavo. So the parasha is starting with a mitzvah, a precept, והיה כי תבוא אל הארץ אשר אדוני אלוהיך נותן לך נחלה. When you come into the land that the Lord your God is giving you as your estate, וירשת וישבת בה, and you take it and you settle it. ולקחת מראשית כל פרי האדמה, and you take the first fruits of the land. And you bring and you put it in a basket and you take it to the place, to the temple. Which means this is the mitzvah of bikurim. Bikurim means the most, the fruits of the 7 species that the land of Israel, the Holy Land, has been blessed by, which is dates, olives, wheat, barley, figs, and so on. The first fruits of the trees you cannot eat, you have to bring it to the temple as an offering. Okay? And the question, what's in it for us? Let's say we do not live in the Holy Land. Let's say we are not farmers and there's no temple to bring it to. What do we do with this mitzvah? Isn't the Torah eternal? And the answer is, yes, it is. And what does that mean? And the Zohar explains to us, as I said, there's very little about, very little Zohar about this parasha. So we have about the same verse exactly in Parashat Yitro, and it says, and you tell the Kohen, the priest, you bring it to the Kohen, and you tell him, הגדתי היום להשם אלוקיך. So Rabbi Shimon is asking, it says that Moses is telling, who's speaking? What we're reading in the book of Deuteronomy is the words of Moses. And here Moses is saying, you're going to tell the Kohen this, that I brought it to the Lord your God. Okay? Why Moses is saying your God and not my God? Okay? And this is the that's question. And the answer is, and that's very important. And he says your God only to those that already entered the Holy Land. So only in the Holy Land they can really face the Shekhinah. And why didn't he say our God? Because Moses stayed outside the land. So it was your God. But what does it, so why it says, Uvata el HaKohen, and you come to the Kohen, the priest, the priest, the descendant of Aaron, the high priest. And you tell him today that you tell him if you bring the bikurim, the first fruits, to the Kohen, it means that you live in the Holy Land. So why do you say to the Lord, your God? Why the farmer says to the Kohen again, your God? What? It's not because there's inconsistency over here. They're already in the land. Why your God and not our God? Ela, alehem laharot ulehodot. And this is a very important message. Whoever has a physical life, עליהם להראות ולהודות שבזכות החסד העליון הם זוכים לזה, לכל זה. We have every time to basically be thankful, and we should be praising the Lord our God for everything good that we have. Why? Because with everything that is good that we have is somehow, the Zohar is teaching us in the book of Bereshit, in Genesis, when it says, and God said, let there be light, and God saw that the light is good. And the Zohar is saying, we learn from that every time we experience and it is good, it is from the light of the Creator. Last week, in the two parashot that were last week and the week before, we spoke about battling our evil inclination, battling our dark side. The dark side, the side of the body consciousness, the side of the selfishness, that we come to this world in order to battle. We're not here to be on a vacation. The name of the game is to battle this side. And one of the strongest ideas is that without the light of the Creator, we can never have true lasting victory against it. So it doesn't matter how much psychology we learn, even we teach, how much of philosophy, they do not have any ability to fight the evil inclination, the dark side. The only way to fight the evil inclination, we learned last week, is using the light of the Creator, the original light from Genesis, that all that is good is coming from there, which means every time we experience something great, something good, is because we overcame the real, true goodness, is because we overcame the darkness by using God's light. And we have to understand it. We cannot overcome any darkness, any negativity, any addiction. Whoever knows the AA program, the Alcoholics Anonymous, the 12 Steps program, you must acknowledge a higher power, a help from the higher power in order to overcome addiction. Any negativity we have is an addiction. The worst addiction is to complain about everything that doesn't go our way. There's no worse addiction to that, because when you submit to it, that weakens you, and the result will be addiction to alcohol, addiction to drugs, addiction to people, to sex, to money, to all kinds of stuff. There's so much of them. The only way to overcome the addiction is to fill ourselves with the light of God. How do we do that? We need to have an acknowledgement. And the first step is thankfulness for everything. This is what it says over here. So what does it mean? עליהם להראות ולהודות שבזכות החסד העליון הם זוכים לכל זה. That it is thanks to the upper chesed, to the upper grace, which is God's light, that every beauty and fulfillment that we have that are real and lasting, they are thanks to that spiritual light, to the grace of the creation and the Creator. And the symbol of that is the Kohen. Always in the Torah, the Kohen is the symbol for that grace. So therefore you have to bring the Bikurim, the first fruits, to the Kohen, which means you planted the field with trees, the trees, it took them years to be mature enough so you really have crops. Now you're so excited about you can finally harvest the fruits. You have to go and thank who? The Kohen. You know, life is all about planting, working hard, and then you get the fruits of your work. You don't have, you don't have a beautiful house overnight. It doesn't happen. You don't have a great relationship as a family overnight. It's a lot of hard work. Everything we have in this world is dependent on hard work, and the hard work is not really hard work unless we bring in the grace of God, the loving kindness, the chesed of the Creator. Okay, how do we bring it? First of all, it has to be available to us. Okay, without it, you can't bring it in. And it is available. And then you have to want it in, and you have to be aware of it. And this is the key for this, understanding this parasha. Okay? So therefore, when the farmer tells the Kohen, the Lord your God, he says, I'm talking about the God of chesed, the God of grace, the God of loving kindness, the creator of this universe. Because if we perceive God, the only one God, as the Lord of wrath, punishment, judgment, that's an idol. And many religions basically program their followers with the faith in a God that is full of judgment. There's no God like this. It's fake. And how much suffering comes to the world. So first of all, the beginning of the parasha is about, the first thing is how do we tune in to the creator of the universe, to the real creator of the universe that is the fountain, the source of all that is good and loving, and there's nothing but love and grace in him. And we learned all the negativity is coming from us blocking that negativity from coming in. And one of the major steps of getting out of addiction to negativity is to accept, train ourselves, and learn how to connect our hearts to the love of the Creator to us, to the unconditional love of the Creator to every human being, including ourselves. Now, the parasha continues after that, but that's a kind of a introduction that is a must for, that's a condition for any real, true success any human being can experience. Okay? Now, the next thing is we can find it in chapter 27, verse 11. ויצב משה את העם ביום ההוא לאמור. And Moses gives the next mitzvah. אלה יעמדו לברך את העם על הר גריזים בעובריכם את הירדן. שמעון ולוי ויהודה ויששכר ויוסף ובנימין. He brings again something we read a few weeks ago about the mountain of Grizim, the mountain of blessing in the Holy Land next to the city of Shechem, okay? And the ones that on Mount Grizim, the mountain of the blessing, Har Bracha, will be Shimon, Levi, Yehuda, Issachar, Yosef, and Binyamin. And on the mountain of the curse, Har Klala, Har Eival, Mount Eival, Reuven, Gad, ואשר, וזבולון, דן ונפתלי. ואמרו כל איש ישראל, כל רם, ארו האיש. And all of them are going to speak about the curses and the blessings. Before that, in the beginning of the chapter, I just skipped it by mistake. Moses says, he tells the elders of Israel and the whole nation, there's a mitzvah I'm teaching you right now. When you cross the river Jordan and you come to the promised land that God is giving you, you have to make an altar from plain stones, big plain stones, and you should write upon them the whole Torah. Okay? And you build this altar in Har Eival. Verse 5, Uvanita sham mizbeach l'Adonai, you build an altar over there to God. Avanim shlemot, it's like stones, do not cut them with iron. Avanim shlemot ivnet mizbeach Adonai, valita arolot, and you bring offerings over there. Okay, now, not many years ago, there was a Israeli archaeologist that realized that there's so many archaeological sites in what is the Judea and Samaria, that because they are in Arabic areas, there's no archaeological digging, so he decided to make a whole kind of a survey of all those places that it's visible to see that there are archaeological places. So he did a survey all over the mountain area, in an area that is known by mistake as the West Bank. No, it's a middle mountain of the Holy Land. That's what it is. Okay, and in the north, next to Shechem, on the mountain that is known the Mount Eival, he found that altar that the Israelite built, as Moses is saying, and it was built exactly as it is described in the book of Joshua. He cleared the place and he took the stuff out to a warehouse, and they went through this the debris they took from there, and a few months ago they found no, it's more than a few months ago, they found a little disc, a square disc made of lead. And the disc was kind of a signet or something like this. And it was made of it was folded. Now, that was dated for 33 centuries ago, which dates exactly to the time that Joshua crossed the river and built the altar with the Israelites. A few months ago, they finally found a place, I think in Prague, in which with CT, they made it possible to see what's inside the disc without breaking it. And they found that inside there was a scripture in ancient Hebrew. And what did it say? Let's read read chapter 27, verse 15. ארור האיש אשר יעשה פסל ומסכה, טובת אדוני מעשה ידי חרש. Cursed is the person, in the word in Hebrew is arur. Cursed is the person that will make statues for idol worshipping. And the whole nation will say, Amen. And then, arur asher lo yakim et divrei Torah. Cursed is the person that is not going to follow this Torah. And so on. It goes like this for many, all of these curses. In that disc, it said in simple Hebrew, exactly these words. Arur, Arur tiyeh, and so on, in the name of Hashem. Yud-Kei Vav-Kei. The name of Hashem. This is the earliest writing that of a biblical scripture that was found, and it was found in Joshua's structure, the the offering place that he was building, that he built probably on Mount Eval, the Mount of the Curses. That was just found in the last few months. So, and that's most ancient Hebrew writing that was found. Now, that goes on. So, with before that, so let's go a little bit backwards. Oh, we go forward. Chapter 28. והיה אם שמוע תשמע בקול אדוני אלוהיך. And if you are going to listen to the Lord your God, which means if you connect, it's not punitive as most people think. When you connect to the network, you have the power and the knowledge and the bliss. If you disconnect from yourself from the network of light, you are being cursed, basically, because you're being cut off from the source of energy. And as we said, without that spiritual light, you cannot overcome your dark side, and the result will be just a demise, destruction, life full of pain. Okay, the question is why God has to make two mountains, the mountain of curses and the mountain of blessings. And the altar was built on Mount Eval, the mountain of the curses. How could that happen? And also we have to remember, we studied about it. Rabbi Ashlag was teaching us, when you come to the promised land, which means this is not just a physical expression, this is also a spiritual expression. Coming to the promised land means that you arrive to a place of home, of holiness, of security, of bliss. Okay? What do you need in order to come to that place? You need a maturity. And what's a real, true maturity? The ability to have a real, true spiritual state of mind. And a real, true spiritual state of mind means that you do not see any curses. What you see is opportunities. What you see is lessons. This is so extremely important for our well-being, because the moment we train our mind, and that's one of the top, if not the top goals of studying Torah. Basically, this is the top goal, as we're going to read, because what is the goal of the study? The goal of the study is not so we can do all kinds of stuff that it says in the Torah to do. This is not a goal, this is a mean. All what we do is in order to be able to connect to the endless light of the Creator. How do I know that I connected to the endless light of the Creator? When I have the ability to see, to weigh, like we're coming soon to the month of Libra. And what is Libra? The scales, the good deeds and the bad deeds, the blessings and the curses. But what does it mean to be a spiritual human being? Is when you realize that in God's universe, even the curses are blessings in disguise, which means you cannot really earn the blessings unless you can transform the curses into opportunities, into challenges, and then into gains and victories. This is what we study Torah for, to be able to program our minds and our hearts. When we go around and we have this kind of little anger or we're annoyed about stuff that happened, we do not really trust the Creator and the creation. When we come to that place that we can weigh the curses and blessings as one, because we realize that both of them serve the same purpose and both of them are going to lead us to the same place. Only when we come to that place, we really reach the true place of spiritual bliss, fulfillment, and feeling that we came home to the promised land. This is the major concept, and we have to work on it really strongly because we're coming to Rosh Hashanah, and Rosh Hashanah till Yom Kippur, the more we can fixate ourselves on that state of mind, the better the year that we're going to gain after that. So it goes on with, if you're going to do whatever you're being told, and if you're going to really make the right connection, Uvau alecha kol habrachot, chapter 28, verse 2, and all the blessing will come upon you. Ve'isigucha, they'll chase after you and reach you. Why? Ki tishma b'kol Adonai Elocha, because you will listen to the Lord your God. And then, Baruch atah ba'ir, you're blessed in the city, Baruch atah b'sadeh, and you'll be blessed in the field. Baruch pri britnecha ufri admatecha, it is the fruit of your belly will be blessed, and the fruit of your land. The fruit, the pri admtecha, and the fruit of your cattle. Baruch tanachar mishartecha, there will be blessing in your basket and a blessing in your dough. Baruch atah bevoecha, baruch atah betzetecha, you're blessed when you're coming, you're blessed when you're leaving. These verses adorn the houses of Jews all over the world for thousands of years as a symbol of this is a blessing we all want to experience. And it goes on and on and on with the blessings. However, this goes on till verse 14. But on verse 15, Ve'haya im lo tishma b'kol Adonai elecha, and when you do not listen to the voice of the Lord your God, lishmor lasot, to observe and to do, and as we spoke before, it's to be conscious about it, to be careful about preserving that state of mind of awareness, thankfulness, as we said before, and make the right actions, because having the right intention is not enough. You need to have the right actions. If you don't do that, Uvau alecha kol haklalot ha'ele v'sigucha, and then all these curses will come upon you, and they will reach you. This is not punitive. This is very simple. It's like, as I said before, when you get connected to the grid of electricity, and the electric company is warning you, do not put your finger in the socket. Do not put electric device in water. Do not, there are all kinds of stuff, of rules, and it has to be all wired properly. And do not connect to the grid all kinds of electrical devices that are not approved by the code. Okay, why? Is that punitive? No, it's simply telling you cause and effect. If you do not use that power properly, that power will become your disaster. And then you're cursed in the city and you're cursed in the field. And it goes on a whole lot of curses. Many, many curses. Some of them are really horrible, and in many synagogues they read that part in a low voice because they are kind of feeling ashamed that God will speak that way. And this is a total ignorance. As we said before, when Moses says, when you come to the promised land, you have to be able to weigh the curses and the blessings and to look at them and to say all of them are the same. Why? Because if I do not have hardships, how can I grow? If I do not have challenges, how can I learn? If I do not have obstacles, how could I become a better human being? Nobody grows, having a nice evening just on the balcony in front of the sunset, drinking some juices and eating fruits. It doesn't work. So when you look at the curses as tools of growth also, that's something else. Okay, and something that is very important. Verse 47, chapter 28, you should remember it always. And it says, all of these curses will come into you, the whole world will see it upon you, because תחת אשר לא עבדת את אדוני אלוהיך בשמחה ובטוב לבב מרוב כל. Because you did not serve the Lord your God with happiness and with a good heart, with grace of all what you've got. What an important key sentence. All the curses are because we are not committed to be happy human beings. What is the strongest way to destroy darkness and negativity, addictions and evil, selfishness and all other negative traits? Happiness. When a person is happy out of appreciation and thankfulness every day, not just one day a year, okay? Every day. That is the key for our success. Yeah, but well, what can I do? Sometimes there are bad days, there are terrible days. You knock on an American, you call an American and you say, can I talk to you? No, it's a bad day today. How do you talk? You don't talk this way. It's never a bad day. It's always a great, amazing day. Okay, let's schedule another time for a talk. No, I'm not ready to talk. But why saying it's a bad day? It's like because you're programmed to see everything on the dark side of it. And this is wrong. You are going to pay dearly for that. That's what the Torah is saying. Never have a bad day. Always make it a good day. How can you make it a good day? When you have the understanding that you have a commitment to create happiness anytime, unconditionally, and if you can't do it, make the effort. And if you can't make the effort, there's no way. You have to make the effort. And that's why the basics of Jewish innovation, it says in the ethics of the Father, Yagata umatzata ta'amin. You make the effort, you'll get it. You'll find it. It will fall. You'll bump into it. What does it mean? You make the effort. You didn't find it, you didn't make the effort. Which means make some more effort. Don't stop, never give up. That's the definition of hope. Never giving up. Why? You know it's there. And because you know it's there, nobody sees it, you hardly can see it, but you know it's there. That's how you can achieve stuff that others cannot achieve. The only difference is hope and innovation coming from what place? It's there. There's a certainty that it's there, and therefore you're not giving up on making the effort. Never. The more effort you make, your chances to achieve the victory are getting greater and greater. Okay? And that is what a human being needs in order to have happiness. You don't need to have, all your victories in front of you, kind of like, okay, we've done it. Finally, I have all the goals, I fulfilled all the goals that I made myself when I was 20. Okay? Maybe I adjusted them when I was 25, 30. Now, a few years later, I achieved all of them. Now I can be happy. This is a mistake. Total mistake. Happiness is a goal. It's not a result. Happiness is a tool. It's not a result. When you are appreciating all what is happening to you, and you enjoy it, and you enjoy every obstacle, and you get excited about every obstacle, and everything that looks like a curse, you're excited about it because you're going to turn it into a blessing. That is the tool, is happiness. And the result will be the victory, the achievement. The happiness is the core materials of success. And so, but the curses over here are terrible, are really terrible. And whoever reads them in a simple reading, they're really scary, upsetting. And the Zohar says that one day, everybody remembers the old story about Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, because somebody told about him to the Roman colonial rule in the land of Israel. The Romans turned the name of Israel into Palestine. Okay, they stole the name for the Philistines that lived here. They were, the word Philistines, or it's coming from the Hebrew word pleshet, which means the place of the invaders. Okay, which means the Philistines, they invaded. They were not locals. The locals in the area that is today Israel and the surroundings spoke Hebrew and wrote Hebrew. The Philistines, they came from the Crete and other Greek islands. They were not from here. The DNA was not from here. Okay? And they were called by everybody the invaders, Pleshet. So calling the land Palestine is basically name the land after the invaders and ignoring the indigenous people who lived over here. Okay, so, but the Romans were winning and changing the name of the land. They changed the name of the land of Israel into Palestine. They changed the name of Jerusalem into Ilia Capitolina. Okay, that lasted for a few centuries, not more than that. Okay, however, they're all and Rabbi Shimon had to run away from the Romans who wanted to kill him and hide in a cave for 13 years. And we all know the story that instead of being so upset and miserable, he celebrated the fact that he can study with his son without any disturbances. And finally, Elijah the prophet and Moses came to teach them every day. And when they came out from the cave 13 years later, they were so thankful for these 13 years. So was it a curse or was it a blessing? From the outside, it looked like a curse. But we have the Zohar thanks to that. So as they are in the cave, and the friends of Rabbi Shimon are really upset because they know he's in the hiding and no one can know where he is. But they come to the Parasha of Ki-Tavo and they're very upset because they see in front of them, these prophecies of Moses from the book of Deuteronomy coming true. And it says over there really clearly, there will be a nation that their symbol is the eagle, and they will come and take you into great, long, painful exile. The eagle was a symbol of the Romans, and it's still the symbol of many countries that basically came as descendants or heirs of the Roman Empire. Okay? Now, how do you deal with all of these curses that are terrible? So finally, it says in the Zohar, I try to make the story short. קם רבי יהודה, בא אליי, ואמר, אוי על חסרונו של בר יוחאי. He was really upset about it, and then Rabbi Yossi ben Rabbi Yehuda, he got up one day in the morning, he saw birds flying, he called one pigeon, one dove, and he says, I have a mission for you. And he wrote on a piece of paper, he wrote the question, how do we overcome the curses of Parashat Ki-Tavo? And those curses do not mention any redemption. So it looks like we just started an exile that there's no end to it. Look, we're talking, Rabbi Shimon was in a cave. We're talking about a time of it's kind of the middle of the 2nd century CE. So this is like almost 2,000 years ago. Okay? So he sends the letter. The dove goes to Rabbi Shimon's cave. She finds the Rabbi Shimon, and he reads the letter and he cries. And he says, "Boche ani asher nifrashti min hachaverim," I'm crying because I'm away from my friends. And I'm crying, al dvarim elu shenam nigli lahem, and I'm crying because they don't understand how to deal with these curses. It looks like we're doomed. מה יעשו הדורות האחרונים יסתכלו בזה? What the other generations, the last generation, are going to do after so many years of exile? בתוך כך בא אליהו הנביא ז"ל. As Rabbi Shimon is crying, Elijah the prophet comes to visit him. And he says, you know, I was busy some other place, but God told me go and speak to Rabbi Shimon, he's crying. And he says to him, it's like, it's not the time to explain what's the deal. It's not the time. And he leaves. בתוך כך עבר רוח אחד והפריד ביניהם, ועלה אליהו בגלגל של אש. And Elijah the prophet went up to the heavens in a wheel of fire. In a ring of fire. ונשאר רבי שמעון ובכה. Rabbi Shimon was left behind and he cried. And he cried himself to sleep at the entrance of the cave. As he's asleep already, בתוך כך בא אליהו ז"ל, Elijah the prophet comes again. אמר קום רבי שמעון התעורר משנתך. And he says, Rabbi Shimon, get up, wake up. אשרי חלקך, praiseworthy you are, שהקדוש ברוך הוא רוצה בכבודך, that God really respects you. And the answer, כל ההבטחות והנחמות של ישראל כתובים באלו הכללות. All the blessings, all the promises are written in these curses. And he says like this, it's not that the curses are no curses. It says those curses, they are basically hiding, they are codes for the blessings. And I'll show you the biggest one of them. And that is in chapter 28, Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 61. גם כל חולי וכל מכה שלא כתוב בספר התורה הזאת, יעלם אדוני עליך עד ישמדך. When an Israeli is beyond any hope anymore, and is in total, like, that is the worst of all of it. It can't be worse than that. He says, he quotes from this verse, Maka shelo tova b'Torah. This is even a plague that is not written in the Torah. He's quoting this verse. He says, it says, I'm reading from the Torah, and also all kinds of diseases and plagues that is not written in this book of the Torah. God will bring it upon you till you'll be exterminated. Okay? That's how people read it. And Elijah the prophet is saying, this is a mistake. It's not what's written over here. It's what your brain tells you. So I think everybody knows about those tricks, gimmicks. You know what I'm saying? There are those gimmicks that you look at the picture and they ask you, what do you see over here? A goblet or two faces? What do you see, an old woman or a young woman? And you're like, I'm not so sure, because you see, once you see a goblet, once you see two faces. Once you see an old woman, once you see a young woman. So it's like, somebody's playing with my mind. Exactly. The whole world that we are part of is playing with our minds. It will be playing with our minds till we take over and we become decisive about telling our brain what to see. And that's exactly what Elijah is saying. You can read it the way I read it right now. Or Elijah says, if you read it carefully, it's not what the word says. What the word says are, and all the curses and all the plagues, even the ones that are not in this Torah, Ya'alem, God will conceal so you will never be exterminated. This, says Elijah the prophet, it is a promise. It is not a curse. Your brain is waiting for a curse, so your brain interprets the words as a curse. If you read it carefully, it is the greatest blessing. You know, I always like to go back to quantum physics, to the uncertainty principle. And the uncertainty principle says the way we measure reality affects reality, so there's no objective objective point of view. Because our point of view affects reality and makes it follow our own opinions. That's not a curse. Oh, so there's no objectivity. That's not a curse. Oh, there's no objectivity. It is a blessing. Which means, what did we say before? The main tool, the main goal of spiritual growth is unconditional happiness. When we see always the bright side of everything, we will be able to transform reality the way we measure it, the way we perceive it. We decide with a hopeful outlook that everything is good. We decide with no objectivity. We decide that God created the universe to be on our side. So we look at it, we think like this, we behave like this, we are happy because of that, and reality is going to transform into becoming welcoming and blissful when we listen. Which means when we listen to these rules, when we realize what is our jobs as humans in this reality. And therefore, where it says, this is just a blessing. But when you are being trained to be a victim, when you're being conditioned since childhood to be always guilt-driven, when we are being brainwashed by, I don't know, government, educational system, religion, or whatever, that we are not worthy, we're supposed to be guilty always for everything, then life, as long as we let others control our thinking, life will be miserable because we're not doing our job. The moment we do our job, we will feel the innate drive to fight those who try to condition us that everything is terrible, will be terrible, was always terrible, just getting worse. It's not. It is not. It's just getting better. Oh, there's still so much terrible stuff around the world. But that can be fixed only with love, only with certainty, only with excitement and thankfulness, not with guilt. You can never build a thriving, successful society that is guilt-driven. Why? Rabbi Ashlag is giving us a very simple secret. You cannot give what you don't have. People that are full of guilt, they don't think they deserve to be happy, and they're full of sorrow and pain, they can project only sorrow and pain. Okay? Very simple. So if we are conditioned to believe in a system of guilt, that's not going to work. Only happy, excited, optimistic people can drive humanity forwards. Okay? Only they can take the load and move everybody forward and say, you see, let's make it happen, and we do make it happen. Okay, most people always, I told you, it's going to be terrible. It is terrible. Why are you happy? It's like, well, it's like this is such an addiction. Where is it coming from? Our souls? No, it's coming from the dark side. That dark side that is the enemy we are fighting all the time. That dark side that wants us to feel like victims and failures. Then it goes on. The Zohar into another prophecy, and it says in verse 66, chapter 29, verse 66, "Vayu chayecha tluim lecha mineged." Your life will be hanging in front of you. So you can translate it, oh, you'll be feeling like your life is hanging on a limb and you can lose them any moment. And the Zohar says, no. When you feel the tree of life in front of you, every second in your life, okay, and you're always concentrating on it, and you see that only, you can overcome any obstacle, okay? And then it goes on to verse 68. "Veshivcha Adonai Mitzrayim ba'oniot b'derecha she'amarti lecha lo tosiv od yorota." And God will bring you back into Egypt in ships, in that road that I told you not to go anymore. You know, the first rebellion, the first war between the Jews and the Romans, first big war, which was called the Big War, okay, it was it started in the year 66. It took the Romans 4 years to win, destroy Jerusalem. Hundreds of thousands of Jews were taken away from Jerusalem and the surroundings and sold as slaves in the ports of the middle of the Mediterranean. Many of them were taken to Alexandria in Egypt. So it looks like this prophecy came true. Many of them were brought into Rome, sold as slaves over there. The second big war was 65 years later, in the time of Rabbi Shimon, when he was running away. And in that war again, it says like some say about 1 million Jews were killed and a few 100,000 again were caught, sold as slaves in Rome, and later on they migrated into Europe to become what we know as the Ashkenazi Jews. Okay? So you could say that's what it says about it. And the Zohar says, no, we are talking about something else. At the days of the redemption, there will be miracles that the whole world will see those miracles, like it was during the Exodus from Egypt. However, as those days are coming, there will be also a situation in which all the nations of the world will gang over the nation of Israel and trying to find all kinds of excuses to blame Israel for all kinds of atrocities. This is such an exciting, positive thing, because this prophecy, as the Zohar is teaching us, we can see it happening in front of us for the last decades. And a lot of Israelis will be thinking, oh, we are already isolated. The whole world is against us. We are finished. How can we fight the whole world? You know, till not long ago, it looked like Israel is totally isolated. Okay? And so the Zohar says, read again. Elijah says to Rabbi Shimon, he dances, "Venimkatem, you will be sold. Vehitmakartem, you will think. You'll be addicted to the idea that you lost because you're so little and there are so many." It's happening in front of our eyes, but ein koneh, no one can control you. Why is this so important for spiritual growth. Rabbi Ashlag, in his amazing introduction to the tree of life, Talmud Sefirot study, says that the whole life of a human being depends on his spiritual journey. And in this spiritual journey, he has to understand that there is what is called Ki Aster Panai Bayom Hahu. I think it's from this parasha. Which God says, and I will hide my face on that day from you. Why? But it says Aster, Aster. It is using the word twice. Okay? And the question is why? Okay, that's in chapter 30. That's in chapter 31. Parasha, it's a few weeks from now. I will hide myself twice. Why twice? Why hiding twice? And Rabbi Ashlag explained like this. You should understand that what the sages said, כל העוסק בתורה שלא לשמה, תורתו נעשית לו שמה מוות. Whoever is occupying himself, applying himself to the Torah, but not for the right purpose, it will become poison for him. And about it, it says also that about God hiding himself twice. Why? Because the sages says that God hides himself in the study of the Torah. Okay? And we think that God is hidden in everyday's life. It's like in everyday's life, whatever. It's like God is everywhere, but we can't see him. You know, I'm going to the mall. I didn't see God in the mall. I'm going, people come here to Jerusalem, to the holy city and to the Western world to feel God, okay? But they don't think that you can find God in the local mall or shopping center or just in the graveyard or in any other place just on the street. And the answer is what it says. Why would God hide himself in the Torah? And the answer is God is hiding himself so we should look for him, which means we live in an illusion. We have to overcome that illusion in order to see, to realize the presence of God. You cannot earn the presence of God. He is present always. But you cannot earn that presence unless you work for it, unless you work on transforming your state of mind to appreciation and awareness. Why double hiding? And the answer is, one hiding is hiding within a hiding, which means it's not that, God forbid, God wants to stay hidden. He's hiding in order for us to find him. Like a person that hides himself purposely so his friend will look after him and find him. Because if when you're playing with a friend hide and seek, you're not looking for the best hiding place, so there's no chance for your friend to find you because there's no game like this. Okay, it's not a game. It's not a game. So same is with the Creator. בשעה שנוהגים בהיותה בהסתר פנים, when he's hiding himself from his creatures, it's only because he wants them to look for him and to find his face. Which means, כלומר, משום שאין שום דרך ומבוא לבריות שיוכלו לזכות באור פני מלך חיים. Because there's no way to the creatures to merit the light of the face of the King of Life unless he was hiding himself first, because there are no free lunches. And lunches are not free, so you think that the face of God, the King of the universe, is free? To see his face and to be in awe and excitement, how everything is so great, was great, is great, will always be great, that has to be earned. Okay? So all the hiding is a preparation for the revelation. There's no hiding for the purpose of hiding. What does it mean hiding? Okay? כי עניין הייסורים והצער, all the sorrows and the pain that a human being feels, perceives during that time of hiding, הסתר פנים, it's not the same for a person that has very few good deeds to a person that has a lot of good deeds. Why? Because when a person has a lot of good deeds, the opposite. When a person has a lot of good deeds, and he feels sorrow and pain, he is kind of like, God, why me? There's so many other people that did not do so many good deeds, and they don't suffer as I do. That's called double hiding. You don't even realize you're hiding. It's like you don't get it. You don't get the idea. Somebody who has a lot of transgressions and sins and so on, he can understand when he's going through suffering. He says, oh God, I know you. I deserve it. Thank you, God. You're still punishing me, and you didn't finish me yet. But I deserve it. Okay? Which means you will see, אשר כל עוד שאדם אינו זוכה להשגחה של גילוי פנים, till a person does not really achieve by his own toil and hard work, גילוי פנים, to see the face of God. What does it mean to see the face of God? To be able to see God's actions in every little thing. To see how this coincides with this and this coincides with this. And that, if that didn't happen and that didn't happen, that wouldn't be able to be revealed. When Gilui Panim means that you reach that awareness, that you can see God in everything. And you see God's love, intention, care, with all the stuff you went through, and you realize it was all premeditated to bring you to a place of awareness, appreciation, and achievement. The real, true victory. Okay? So, whoever learns and study Torah, just because he wants, I will study Torah so I can get a lot of good luck. I will be blessed in the heavens and I'll make a lot of money. This is not the purpose of the study of the Torah. The purpose of the study of the Torah is to find God, to overcome our negativity, to train ourselves to see God everywhere, and to train ourselves to take responsibility and transform our own negativity so we become really, truly enlightened. And when we become that enlightened, then we can see that everything that happens or happened in the past was always good. Okay? When we do that, then we see reality in such a different place. Then the bad deeds become also good, because you realize without the hardships, there won't be victories. Without the mistakes, there won't be achievements. Whoever doesn't make mistakes. Whoever doesn't make mistakes never learns, never grows out of his childish or immature way of seeing reality. Okay? So, and Rabbi Ashlag finishes with a story. It is a story, it seems like a story about this, in the 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th centuries, Eastern Europe was a feudal regime. They were nobilities who basically ruled everything in the name of the king. The ones who were close to the king, they had serfs, and they had real estate they had to run, and they usually hired Jews who had no right for property at those ages, so they simply rented the property or ran the property for the landowners. So one time, so there was this guy in Eastern Europe. He liked the Jewish guy who made him rich, and he went to Paris to spend the money every once in a while. However, he has a place that didn't like that Jew so much. So when the owner went to Paris, his replacement find an excuse to blame the Jew for something he didn't do, and he was basically, they were also all the authorities. They were the judge, they were the police, they were everything, and the executioner also. So he judged the Jew for 5 whiplashes, and he executed them 5 whiplashes in front of the whole neighborhood to humiliate him. When the master, the landowner, came back, the Jew came to him and he told him the story. So the master was very upset, and he asked his replacement to pay the Jew 1,000 golden coins for every whiplash. He took the money, 5,000 golden coins, came home, and his wife saw him, he's crying, and she asked him, what happened? Did you tell the landowner? And he said, yes, I did. So what did happen? Why are you crying? So said the Jew, I'm crying because he beat me only 5 times, only 5 whiplashes. If he gave me 10, I would have right now 10,000 gold coins, which means when we understand that whatever happens to us is from the love of God, then everything that happens to us, we are excited about it because we know there's a great light behind it. And when we achieve this kind of attitude, perception, awareness, then the blessings and the curses become equally important because you don't see the curses anymore. That's when you learn to see the curses as opportunities, as challenges, as blessings in disguise. And when we train to do that, then we can come to Rosh Hashanah and upgrade our state of mind, leave the curses behind, and embrace the blessings given to us by the Creator, so the years coming will be full of so much blessings that we can appreciate, be thankful for, and connect to the grace that fills this universe and gives it life every second. Thank you so much. Good luck.